Hey guys, it's Ashley, and in this video today I'm going to be talking about some of my fall reading recommendations that I have, including a few books that can be considered spooky, I guess you would say. I know that we are all in the mood for those fall, cozy, spooky reads since Halloween is coming up, and that is what I wanted to share with you today. So for me, when I think of fall reading, I immediately think of fantasy. For some reason, that's just what I feel like I want to be reading at that time. I just want to kind of cozy up with my blanket and be in my bed and just be reading a really, really good fantasy book. I just want to get in that mood. So today I'm going to be sharing with you some of my favorite books that I have read or books that I really want to read this fall. So without further ado, let's get started. The first book that I have here is one that I actually just finished reading, and if you follow me on Instagram, you've probably heard me gush all about it already, and that is The Last Magician by Lisa Maxwell. I have waited so long to read this book, and I don't know why, honestly. I was sent this book last December, I think. Guys, I have been sleeping on this for too long. It was so good. So if you don't know anything about this book, basically it is a historical fiction fantasy. This book takes place in basically 1902 New York, and it kind of has this fantastical element to it where there are people with affinities, people with powers who are called magus, and they kind of live undercover, I guess you would say, because there is this establishment called the Order that is hell-bent on just destroying them. This book actually follows a girl named Esta, and she is a time traveler, I guess you would say. Her affinity is basically to stop time, but with the use of an artifact that you find out more about in this book, she can actually travel through time. Esta's job is to basically go back to 1902 New York and to find this book that they need to do something with it in the future. I'm not going to give too much away because it's kind of spoilery, but and she gets sucked into all of the things that are happening at this time, sucked into this story, sucked into this magical heist. This book is third-person multi-perspective, so if you can't follow that very well, I will say it is a bit confusing the more that you read. There's not a specific number of people that it follows. It doesn't just follow two people. It follows literally everybody who has a part in this book. It follows that person at some point. It reminds me of Six of Crows and Renegades like mashed together. So if you like either of those books and you're into the whole 1902 New York kind of feel, highly recommend. Okay, now that I've talked about this book for 5 minutes now, I'm gonna put it down. The next book that I have to recommend is one that I have read the first, but I have not read the second one that just came out yet, and that is Vicious by V.E. Schwab. Vicious, if you have not heard me talk about on my channel already or heard anybody else rave about, as a matter of fact, because I feel like everybody's talked about this book already. Vicious is a book all about villains. It is about villains and exploring the role of villains in books and what it means to be a villain. It is about these people with superpowers. They are extraordinary. I don't even know how to explain it other than that. It just dives into it. It's a very dark, very creepy story. So if you are into that, if you want something like that, I highly recommend picking it up. It is considered adult, I believe. So keep that in mind. There are some themes, like I said, that are a bit darker than they usually explore in YA, but it's so good. And Vengeful just came out and people are raving about it, and I have not yet been able to pick it up, but I'm very excited to. It's high on my list. I've been meaning to reread this anyway, so I'm definitely going to be taking part in that at some point in the next few months. The next two books that I have not actually read yet, but I do have a feeling they have a very spooky quality to them, and those are two more V.E. Schwab books, The Archives and The Unbound. I have not heard a whole lot about these books, but I have heard that people who read them do absolutely love them. As far as I know, it's about this library of the dead and this girl who is in charge of running it, and that's basically all I know about it. Not only do their covers look very fantasy spooky like, but just the words Library of the Dead just sound very spooky. So I'm very eager to pick these up at some point. They definitely give me those fall vibes that I've been looking for, so I'm very excited. Plus V.E. Schwab. What more is there to love? This video is not sponsored in any way whatsoever, but I did just receive this book in the mail from Penguin, so I wanted to share it with you guys because it does fall under that fantasy spooky category, and that is A Map of Days by Ransom Riggs. This is a Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children novel set in America. So this story, I believe, follows the same characters, and it's just the fourth novel in the series, the ongoing series, but they are now in America. If you don't know anything about Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, the first 3 books, I read the first book, but I don't remember a whole lot about it. Basically, it's like these kids have these powers and these things are after them. That's all I remember. There's a lot more to it than that, and so many people have read this book already. I can't remember a whole lot. But this book is a lot bigger than the other ones are, so I'm very eager to see what happens in this that makes it so big. So I might just have to pick up the next 2 books in the Miss Peregrine series. Will that end up happening? I don't know. But this book is definitely falling in this list because just look at it. It just looks like a creepy book. All of his books just look like creepy books, like look at them. And the last few books I wanted to share with you guys are middle grade. So the next book I did read last year and I absolutely adored it, and that is The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redding by Alex Bracken. Like I said, this is middle grade, and this book basically follows Prosper as he is inhabited by a demon and has to figure out some way to get it out of him. It's all about his family and his great-great-great-grandfather making this curse that his family broke, and now this demon is out for revenge, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. But I just remember reading it and it being a very creepy book, and but it being cute all at the same time because it is middle grade. So it was a very weird combination, but I just remember absolutely loving it. The second book, The Last Life of Prince Alistair, is actually set to come out in February of next year. This is an arc that I have that I got from BEA, but if you are interested in reading this, just know that the sequel is not that far off. This book does end on a cliffhanger, I will say that. So you will be wanting this book immediately after, but you won't have to wait that long. And I have 2 more books on this list, the first of which is an Owl Crate Jr. book that I did just receive in the last Owl Crate, and that is Night Books by J.A. White. This book I have heard is so spooky, and I was not expecting that. The premise sounds spooky, I will say that, but I wasn't expecting a middle grade book to come off as spooky as I've heard it's been. Basically, from what I remember about the synopsis of this, it is about this boy named Alex who sneaks out in the middle of the night and gets captured by this witch who wants to kill him, but to stop her from killing him, he starts telling her stories every night, and I guess these stories are really creepy and keep getting creepier and creepier, and that just is what gives this book its spooky, creepy quality. And plus the cover, like, look at this. This looks like a spooky book, just like Ransom Riggs. This book looks spooky. I'm very, very excited to read this. I don't know, it's small, but I feel like it could pack a really creepy punch. Like, look at that. That's just so Halloween! And the last book I have on my list is one that I have not yet read, but does feel like it falls in that fantasy fall category, and that is Nevermore by Jessica Townsend. I've heard so many people rave about this book, and I've yet to pick it up. I know the next book is coming out, I believe, relatively soon, so it would be a good time for me to pick this up. And I don't even remember what it's about. So from what I gather, it's about this girl named Morrigan Crow, who is the unluckiest girl in the world, or was born on the unluckiest day. She's basically blamed for all of the local misfortunes, and she's blamed for basically everything that happens to her or the city ever. One day she meets this man named Jupiter North, and he whisks her off to this world called Nevermore, where he wants her to contend in this competition for a place in the city's most prestigious organization, the Wondrous Society. But in order to join, she has to compete in 4 difficult and dangerous trials against hundreds of other children, or she'll have to leave the city to confront her deadly fate. So right then and there, I'm just getting the vibes, I'm getting the feelings. I want to pick this up as soon as possible. So those are the books that I have chosen that I am interested in reading or have already read for fall / Halloween this year. If you guys have any of your own suggestions or have read any of these books that I have not yet, please let me know and tell me what you think. I'd love to get more suggestions for fantasy, for spookiness, I don't know. I do have more high fantasy like Mistborn, like the Kingkiller Chronicles that I am interested in reading. I just haven't listed them here because these ones stuck out to me more so. But please, please, please let me know what you guys think. That is going to be it for this video, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you later. Goodbye!